Welcome to Stories of Hope. This is a podcast by the Dream Center.
Where you will hear from people who have stories that once seemed hopeless.
People whose stories of redemption and life transformation are so powerful, they can only be possible by the power of Jesus.
Welcome back to season 7 of Story of Hope, which is kind of crazy. Just before we started, it's our 4th time doing this, Brady.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, 7 seasons
pretty
total,
awesome.
4 times for us. So to start things off, we have one of our former residents, Miss DeeDee, with us. She graduated Opportunity Village not too long ago, and we're super excited to sit down with her and chat through her story. So DeeDee, how are you doing today?
Good.
DeeDee, so tell us, what are you doing now since post-graduation? What are you up to?
I work and I take care of my son. I'm a full-time mom.
I think also it's pretty cool to see that, you graduated, a month ago? I mean, not even, right?
Yeah.
July
11th.
July 11th, so we're almost at a month.
Mm-hmm.
And DeeDee works at one of our resale stores, which is amazing, and I think that also just seeing you step into full-time work and being with Caden and just all the things. I mean, we've been proud of you for a long time, but it feels like it's at an even heightened level right now. So very cool.
Yeah, for sure. So tell us a little bit how your story before coming to the Dream Center. Tell us a little bit about where you were, the season that you were in, maybe a little bit about your childhood. Just how did you wind up here?
So, if you follow my story, I was aborted, and so my whole childhood I felt empty, like nobody wanted me, but I didn't know till later on that I was actually aborted, so I really didn't have no thought on how I became so lonely. There was times I was just in my room, and it's like, why don't nobody want me around? If I try to talk, they just kind of shun me. But growing up as a child, my older sister, she did take care of me growing up as she was the older one. But when she was 14, she left home. And then I've always took my sister and my mom were both drug addicts, and my dad, he was an alcoholic. I had a stepmom in the picture since I was a year old. But he more chose her over us.
Right.
And her kids. And then they had my brother together. So as a teenager, I was really lonely and depressed. I left home at 15. Or it might have been 16, 15 or 16. I was homeless on the streets in Easley, finishing high school. And then I ended up living with my friend. And then when I got on my own, I took care of my mom and my sister. I could not turn my back on them. They did several things to me to hurt me in the long run. But there was nothing that could make me stop loving them.
Yeah.
Or taking care of them. So as a child, I knew I had a big heart, and I just used it, and everybody's like, it's kind of your own fault you get hurt because you keep going back and helping these people knowing that they're going to hurt you, including my dad and them. But as a child, all I wanted was my dad to love me.
Right.
I would do anything. I graduated high school. I was pregnant my senior year, but I was like, he looked at me and he was like, I told you would never be anything. So he was like, now you're pregnant, you won't graduate. And I looked at him, I said, I'll walk that stage.
Mm-hmm.
And I did.
Right. Yeah.
Homeless and pregnant.
Man.
And then I ended up living with her daddy. And then years went on when I was helping always take care of addicts. At this point in time, I was not an addict. I was working. Worked at the Board of Disability with Special Needs, and I was also a security guard at Michelin.
You would be a
That's
security
awesome. Yeah.
guard. That
I was
makes
gonna
sense.
say,
That
that's
makes
so-
sense.
Well,
that is amazing.
That's so silly.
well, I could be a security guard, but that's the only job I think they've ever let me go on, because this couple got into a fight at Michelin, and one broke into one another's car, and I was like, what do I do?
Yeah, right. Just watch it happen.
What I do? And they're like, well, you can't just stand there. Like, I kind of, y'all know me, I like to freeze up. So I was
Right.
like, so
That's amazing.
I went full time at the Board of Disability.
Yeah.
And then, okay, I actually, I went to college to be a cop. Yeah,
Yeah. Wow.
in the criminal justice field. That didn't happen, but I went on several interviews, and they were like, "You're a little too shy to be a cop. Have you ever thought about being a nurse?" I was like, they were like, "Cause you can't go up to the car and be like, hold your head down and be like, can I see your license?" Because they might shoot you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But to go on, I always help. And then fast forward, I ended up in addiction after my mom, she killed herself. I remember coming home. It was I worked third, so I came home and I went to sleep. It was 11:46, and I heard my sister saying, "I think she's dead. I think she's dead." So I jumped out of the bed. I said, and I opened my door. I said, "What?" She's like, "I can't go in there and look. I need you to go in there and look. I think she's dead." Well, I walked in and I found her hanging, in my front bedroom in my apartment. I remember calling my boss. She was like, "Don't call me. I need you to call
Yeah.
hospice," because she was in hospice because my mom was actually dying of full-blown AIDS because her immune system dropped so low. That's why she was in like a long-term hospice. So I've been taking care of her with that, but her I don't know what they call it, but it made her immune system come back up. So they were gonna let her come out of hospice, but in her letter she said she just couldn't take it no more. So, and it was actually pills that killed her and morphine. She had took, but she was on an oxygen tank, and the line ran across the bedding because it was on the opposite side of the bed. So when she fell forward, that's how she was hanging.
Yeah.
So that shook me real bad. And at that point in time, I didn't know, hey, this is going to cause me to be at it.
Right.
3 months prior to that, I actually had moved into my apartment and fell down the stairs, and come to find out I was pregnant. But I was pregnant with twins.
Wow.
And didn't know it was twins until later on into the pregnancy, but they started having a lot of complications after I fell, and they finally passed away. 3 days before Christmas. Yeah, the last one passed. So after my mom passed, I can't even tell you what happened at the funeral. Like, I don't remember nothing.
Right.
The only thing I remember really after she died is during the moment I was calling people. I was up, and this is weird, I was up under the toilet. Like, I don't even know how I got there. Like, I was so upset. That's really all I kind of remember.
Yeah.
And then like after that, like I had nobody even showed up. Like after my mom died, it was me and my sister at the house, and I'm the one that wrote her thing for the paper, but nobody showed up, and I was like, okay. And nobody, like my dad and them, they didn't even offer to help me with our kids. I remember arguing with my boyfriend at that time. I was like, because our school sent me a thing that said, she's been out for this many days. I was like, she was not out. She was at school, and they were like, no, she was with you. I was like, no. But come find out she was. But I was so upset, like,
Right.
I don't know. Well, I started having like these real vivid dreams of my mom, and they were not so good. Like I understand more now of the drug addict, like being a drug addict, but she tortured us real bad as children, like a lot. And so when these dreams started happening, I was scared. Like, it was real to me. Like, nothing in this world could tell me it wasn't real.
Right.
So, DSS stepped in. Somebody called DSS on me and stepped in and was like, so we're going to remove your children so you can have time to grieve. Well, my stepmom, she was there, and she was like, well, yeah, I think that's the best. And they were like, because you don't do drugs and you're hallucinating. I was like, okay. So they took my kids. Well, I thought at that point in time they were going to help me. Well, joke on me. So instead, they were actually filing a private action against me to take my children. And at the top of the court docket, it said, due to seeing my mom dead and killing herself, I was mentally unfit to take care of my children.
Wow.
So I turned to meth shortly after that. And it was a downfall. I've always been like overweight too. And when it started making me skinny, I was like, I like this diet at that point in time. And then I was like, it was the greatest thing, but it was filling a void that I've missed my whole life. Like,
Yeah, right.
Sure.
Yes, I went to church as a child. I went to Awanas and went to church.
Oh,
Red vest.
love
Yeah.
the best.
I had one.
And I could recite all them verses then, but now I can't remember them. Like,
I mean, same. Same.
Yeah.
like, but you know, you look at church and you're like, my stepmom goes to church. My dad didn't go. He was alcoholic, stayed at home. Every once in a while he would go with us, but you look and then you're like, okay, if God's saying this and they're acting like that, because my family was like, they put on a show like, oh, we're so great, and
Right.
it's behind scenes. It's like, what?
Yeah.
So I kind of fell out of church, but still in the back of my mind, I knew God was going to use me to help other people. Like, there was nothing in this world that could tell me that any different. And when I lost them, and so there's something about parking lots, you know what I mean? So I met my daughter's dad in the Ingles parking lot, and I met Caden's daddy in the Section 8 parking lot of the apartment. Like,
Hey.
he said he had free Wi-Fi. What?
Nothing.
That's really how we ended up together.
I believe you.
Like,
I did
that's
too.
no
That's
joke.
really
Like,
funny.
No, I'm with you.
okay. So it wasn't just that, but that,
Yeah,
that had a lot of
yeah,
wow, let him in the door. You
Yeah,
know?
right.
Oh.
Of course.
So he was actually over there. I was on drugs. I was lonely. So I already had like 11 people living in my house. Like so I was already on drugs, but my father's son, he was already on them too then. And so it just went downhill like from there. And then he went to jail and then he got out. And we ended up pregnant. Or I ended up pregnant, not we. I ended up pregnant. And that was a hard fight. At first, you know, I didn't want to take a pregnancy test. I was like, I'm not pregnant because I don't want to quit doing the drugs. But I come find out I was pregnant, and I did quit doing drugs, and that was really hard when you still had everybody around you doing them.
Right.
That I have to say that was the most hard time. It's quitting that. It got very physical between me and him. And so, and in 2021, we went down for a drug bust. It was a sweep. I cannot find the name of the sweep that happened. It was Pickens County. They surrounded our house. I was asleep with the baby in the house, and they literally came in and was like, Pickens County, and they pulled us up out of the bed. They pulled Caden up out by his arm, and they pulled me up, and they were like, we have a search warrant. I was like, can I see it? And they were like, no. So that went on. They pulled us out, and they searched the house for I don't know how long. They already had taken his dad to jail, and then they charged me with child neglect and then manufactured methamphetamine with a minor child. I lost my house that day. I was in jail for 31 days. Then I was like, what am I going to do? And so I get out, and I did drugs, but I did not know how to live the street life. Like, I didn't talk to nobody. I was a very shut down person. I actually didn't leave home for like 6 years.
Wow.
Like, if I did, I went by foot to the store. And then I ended up dumpster driving. Not proud of it, but the lifestyle we lived, that's how I got my son's stuff, you know?
Right.
I was trying to provide, and so I did what I had to do. Then, at that point in time, I didn't know there was another life. Like, I was like, God, is this my life? And I was like, I know you're going to use me for something. And I would go sit outside and look at the stars, and I'm like, okay. I know you're out there. Get me out of this. So we were homeless for about a year, in and out of jail. They ended up dropping the manufacturing charge. I pled out to child neglect, and the last time I went to jail, I was like, I'm not going back.
Right.
I'm not going back. So there was people doing ministry inside the jail, and I went in, and I was like, I'm getting out. And I actually, at this point in time, I had 2 counts of child support. I was doing a 45-day or 90 days suspended 45, 2 counts. Like, it was supposed to be doubled, but they came back in there, and they're like, they're going to drop your child support. And I was like, okay. So I went to court. They dropped the 1 case. So at 45 days, I went to the Alabaster House. That changed my life. At first, I was like,
Right.
Like, I was like, do I really want to do this? I was like, yeah. Because my ultimate goal at that point in time was to get Caden back. And I was going to do whatever it took to get him back.
Yeah.
I know people at that point in time were like, she's not getting Caden back. But I was getting Caden back.
Right.
And there wasn't no doubt in my mind that I was getting Caden back. Like, so I did a 7-month program at Alabaster. It changed my world on October, I think, 22nd. I turned my life over to Jesus. Followed by that, it was like an ultimate thing. Like, I was delivered from drugs. Like, most people are going to say, oh, I have an urge to do drugs.
Yeah.
I don't. Like,
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, I might have an urge to eat that chocolate cake, but.
Yeah, but still.
I don't have the urge to do that.
Right.
And so, I mean, and then I've always knew I was going to get my son back at the Dream Center. I can't tell you how I knew that, but when I was out on the street, I would walk up to the Dream Center, and Jackie from the resale store.
Yeah, the pick and store.
Yeah, so she was like, let me help you. So I would sneak in sometimes to the back because we didn't want my father's son to see me. So, and I would talk to Julie, and Jackie. And then me and Jackie had gotten really close, and it wasn't until after the drug bust that she really started putting, like, I really started seeing hope. Like,
Right.
she was like, you know how they tell you to hang on to somebody's faith until you find your own? I held on to her faith really tight.
Yeah.
Wow.
And when things would go rough, I would be like, if I can just make it up to the Dream Center, to Jackie,
Right.
I'd be okay.
Yeah.
So I would go up there, and while I was sitting in the jail cell, I mean, I thought about Jackie a lot, and the things that she would tell to me, and the verses she would tell to me. Lo and behold, I get to work with her every day now.
Yeah.
And then,
That's so cool.
yeah, it looks like, you know how some people say you can't go back to your playground after you get clean?
Right.
Well, God's picked me up. He set me right
Yeah.
back down
Wow,
to give
yeah.
my testimony and just be a walking
Come on.
Wow.
light for somebody,
Yes.
you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So cool.
I get to do that every day, and it's amazing. Like,
Yeah.
because people come in and be like, how did you do it?
Right.
And they're like, we watch you every day. I'm like, yeah, like, it's God.
Yeah.
Glory to God, you know?
Yes. Truly.
Because many times I've tried to do it on my own and I couldn't.
Yeah.
Some people say that I'm in a cult. Well, if I'm in a cult, I'm in a cult for Jesus. You know?
That's
like,
so funny.
They do,
Yeah.
and they're like,
Yeah.
now you think you're better, but no, I don't.
No, it's just
I found
freedom.
Jesus.
Yeah. Yes.
Once you find him, because he's really good.
He's really good.
He really is.
Let's also not skip over the fact that you did get Caden back.
Yes.
And
Well,
like,
but that's when I got to the Dream Center.
well, I know, but you had
Yeah.
transit. I felt like we went from like, you got here and then you went back to the store and I was like, hold on now. Like
You got Caden back. I
We
think
got
everyone
him.
cried that day.
Oh man,
Yeah.
it was a
Everybody
beautiful
cried.
day.
Yes, but I was already working at the store when I got him back.
That's true.
Right.
That's true. I feel like there's so much, and we got to obviously see so much of it with you in the journey of with you coming into the program, everything that God had already done in your life there, but through the journey of just like trying to get Caden back, how difficult that was.
It was very difficult.
Very.
Very. So when I got to the Dream Center, I'll start right there.
Yeah, it's great.
When I got to the Dream Center, and the reason I came to the Dream Center was to get Caden back. That was my ultimate goal when I got here. And I knew it was going to happen. I just didn't know when.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was here 8-9 months before
Yeah, it was a while.
I got him back. It was a struggle, and not only did I have God by my side, like when I got here, I was like, because I had to find somebody that would listen to me, because even when I was still trying to do right, I could not get nobody to listen to me. They were like, okay, she's just a recovering addict, well, you know, and so I couldn't get nobody to listen to me. So that was the only prayer I had, is to get Caden back. My other prayer was to find somebody that would actually listen to me
Right.
and what really happened.
Yeah.
So I found not only God, when I found God, when he sent me here, he put not only the Dream Center in my path, he put Chris Wilson. And she did listen to me. And she dug until she found the answer.
Yes.
And it took a while to get him back. And there was really hard days. I mean, I would have meltdowns, but I kept pushing.
Yeah.
Like, there wasn't nothing gonna stop me.
Yeah.
Some days, if I'm being completely honest, I was like, okay, God, when?
Yeah.
I know you're not supposed to question God, but at that point I was like I can't take it no more. Like,
Right.
bring it back, because if we're being really honest, like, not saying what I did was okay,
Right.
because I was in and out of drugs, but Caden never really fell for drugs. And after we got while he was with the other people, And we brought the boat. They did drug test Caden and the home he was in at that point. And my son fell for meth.
Mm-hmm.
That, I hit my knees.
Yeah.
Just to know that you're fighting and there's nothing you can do but wait.
Right.
And you don't know if he's okay. Because if you've ever been on meth, like the hallucinations are scary.
Yeah.
My question was, did he see that?
Right. Yeah.
What's he really seeing?
Yeah.
And he's only 4.
Right.
So, and then it made me think, I'm not going to give up.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to get him out.
Yeah.
So we fought and we fought and we hired a lawyer and, things started moving. And, on January 9th, I went to court once before that, and the other side never showed up, so they postponed it. And I'm sitting here thinking, postpone it. My son just fell for meth. Why ain't nothing being done? That's
Yeah,
that's
right.
literally what's going to my head. Why ain't nothing being done? And we went back to court, and we went and talked to the lawyer, and he was like, don't expect just to go in and get him.
Yeah.
That's a very slim chance that's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's going to be a transition. I said, but my God said different.
Mm-hmm.
And so that morning, we prayed. And there was really, and I will never forget this, because God says he'll walk with you through the storm.
Mm.
And he did that day.
Mm.
And he showed it. Like, it was storming so bad. Like, it was raining so hard that you couldn't even walk outside, like it was pouring.
Right.
It was like the trenches were overflowing, like outside, and we made it to the courthouse and it stopped raining. So we go in and we went in that courtroom, and they gave me temporary primary custody over my son that day. And I walked out and the sun was out.
Right.
And I feel like that was God saying, I told you I was going to walk through it with you. Like, you never have to fear the storm, because here I am.
Right.
And so that day, when I walked out with him, was the happiest day of my life. Like,
Yeah.
because going back a little bit, when I was pregnant with Caden, I did quit doing drugs eventually, but it was really hard. But I already had so many DSS cases, and my brother, who was a cop, has custody of my other son.
Mm-hmm.
So, coming in with that, they took Caden from me the day he was born. We did pass drug screens. I passed many of them, and he passed the core test drug screen, which goes back 20 weeks. Mm. But they put on the paperwork due to family history. That was one case I fought, and I beat that case. In 21 days, I had my son back that day. Right. But, I eventually backslid, and at that point, I didn't know God the way I know him now. Yeah. But that was the happiest day of my life, because I know for a fact I'm never going back. Yeah. And they're never going to be able to have my son back. Like, he's mine forever.
Yeah.
And then, not only that, I was on probation when I got to the Dream Center. And so it was facing 10 years for the manufacturing charge when it first started. Right. And after they lifted that one, I was facing another 10 years for the child neglect charge. Mm-hmm. But it was dropped to 5 years probation, and then it dropped from 5 years probation to 2 years PTUC if I got Caden back, and I got him back with 3 months to spare. So we were just waiting on the closing date, and it came, and it got closed.
Sheesh.
But in the journey of being at the Dream Center, like, we did this project, and I actually went back to the jail. And if you know me, cops scare me, and it's a fear I'll have to overcome. But I went back to the jail. I faced my fear, and I went back to help other people just like me. Because if you ain't got the resources, you can't get the help. So I went back to the jail to help them. And the reason I'm telling you this is because what sparked me to even, and now I'm a peer support specialist, so is also known as a recovery coach to help other people out of addiction. What sparked that was I went to jail while I was at the Dream Center,
Right.
for child support. And now both cases are closed. I no longer have to pay child support. And one of my child support were $13,000. And her dad came up there and signed the paperwork to drop every bit of it and close the case.
Right.
That was a miracle for God. Like,
Yeah.
I'd never have to worry about going to jail for child support again. Like, it's amazing. And when I went to jail, there was a girl in my cell, and I was sick as a dog. I was actually at this point in time chewing nicotine gum, and I swallowed it, and it made me so sick. But this girl came in, and something kept drawing me to her, even while I was sick. And the first thing I said to her, she was drinking something. I said, "Can I have that cup? I'm so thirsty." So she gave me her cup, and I lay back down. I was like, "Get up and talk to her." And I was like, "Okay." I was like, "But I'm so sick." So I get up, and our breakfast trays came, and she was like, "Are you gonna eat that?" I was like, "No." She was like, I was like, "You can have it," because I knew I was getting out. I told her, I said, "God didn't bring me this far to leave me here." And at this point, she was telling me she done drugs herself and she was pregnant. And I was like, "That's not a road you want to go down."
Right.
I said, and all I had on me, and I don't know why the COs didn't take it, but I had these 2 cards. They were the Alabaster card. And then another one, it was also an Alabaster card, but it had Chris's number on it. So I kept the one that had Alabaster and Chris's number on it. I was like, "Well, let me give you this card." And I was telling her about the Dream Center and how great of a program it was. And I was like, "Well," I said, "the Alabaster is a rehab, and the Dream Center is for you to get back on your feet." And I said, I'm getting my son back there. And I said, "God didn't bring me this far to leave me here."
Right.
And about that time, a lady knocked on the window. She's like, "Chris is here. She's here to get you out." She said, "We're working on it. Sit tight." And I looked at her and I said, "See?" And she started crying. And a few minutes later, they released her. But I watched out the little window, and she was like, she went to the thing. I said, "You can ask them if they have a Dream Center brochure." And she did. She asked. Until this day, I cannot remember this girl's name. I don't know why I can't remember her name. Maybe it wasn't meant for me to remember.
Right.
Maybe it was just for me to plant the seed. But I said, "See, God's good, isn't he?" And she was like, "Yeah." And so I was like, when they hit the window, I was like, "I told you I wasn't staying here." And when she was crying, I was like, "Thank you, God."
Yeah. Right.
And so, I mean, I was there for, I feel like, the purpose
Right.
of planting that seed.
Right.
Like, it was so amazing. Like,
Yeah.
I know that's hard to say. I was in jail, but
No.
it was really an eye opener. Like, this is your calling.
Right.
This is
Yes.
what you're gonna do.
Right.
And I feel like I'm still in the peer support area. I feel like I'm gonna go into the jail and help others. So, like, that's my ultimate goal,
That's awesome.
is to help other people out of the situation I was in.
Right.
Because if it wasn't for the Dream Center listening to me, where would I be?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right.
It took the whole village.
Yeah.
Really,
It,
the whole
it,
village.
it really did.
Like,
Even hearing you tell your story again, but also like me and Sarah have both been here like through your whole time at the Dream Center. Like hearing you say it and remembering, like I can remember the day you went and signed the child support thing and like met their dad. I remember the day Caden came home. I remember all of these giant milestones, and I'm sitting over here like, me crying on this is not a like strange thing. It happens all the time, but like it's just a remembrance of like, and what you just said of, it's funny for me to say it was a good thing because I was in jail, but the beautiful thing about the way the Lord redeems and our testimony is that like those low moments, quote unquote, like they end up being some of the most beautiful times of our life because you see God's divine intervention and sovereignty over every situation, to where it's like, it doesn't matter that it seemed like a strange circumstance to me, like he used the whole thing for good. And so every part of your story is like points to him in every way of like,
I mean,
he was in and out of the whole thing. He's like, I got you. So
and
cool.
when I was down, in the down moments, like I would get God winks all the time. Like
Right.
how they said, if you really read your Bible and you're really looking for Jesus, you'll find it. Like
Right.
working at the thrift store, I was actually working at Easley at this point. Okay. And I think it was the Alabaster House. I was like, because some days I'd be like, is it ever going to happen, God?
Right.
But somebody came in and they were like, DeeDee, something came for you in the donation center. And I was like, what? Okay. So I walk out there and it's a wooden box
Yep.
that somebody made, and it's got my name carved in on the top of it.
Aw.
And you open it and it had a warring cross in it. And it says Psalms 37:4. And which is, if you give the desires of my heart, I'll give you, I think I'm saying that right. If you give me the desires of your heart, I'll give you, how am I saying that right?
I got you. Let me pull it up.
I just don't want to say it backward.
No, for sure. But yes, I know what you're saying. But keep going. I'll pull the verse up.
Okay. So I was like, I know God's talking to me.
Yeah.
And there was another God wink, like at the Easley store, like I was walking to the bathroom, and we actually had moved the picture frames kind of in the bathroom. Like if you know what the Easley store looks like, it's kind of like a hallway.
Yeah.
So they moved the picture frames over there, and I went to the bathroom one day, and something caught me out of the side of my eye, and I turned around, and it said, Caden's coming home. And it said third blessed, which would have been Caden's third home, would have been here.
Right.
Wow.
And it's blessed. And I actually still have that down at my house.
Yeah.
Like, so cool.
Yeah.
So if you're really, really pure-hearted, you see God winks all the time.
Yeah. Right.
I love that. God winks.
Yeah. God winks is really good.
That's kind of fun. I like that.
The verse says, "Take delight in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart." Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
that is the verse I actually carried through me
Right.
through this whole battle,
Right.
because my God fought my battle, and He fought it all the way through.
He did.
And that's why I say that day I will always remember, because it was storming so bad.
Yeah.
And then I came out, it was sunny, and it was January. Like, when is there a storm like that in January?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And it was like he was, you know, sometimes I say God can be funny. It's like he said, told you so.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
That's awesome.
that was the greatest day. Some other obstacles. I overcame a lot here.
Yeah.
So when I first got here, well, when I started looking for a job at the Alabaster House, I was like, working at the Dream Center.
Right.
I'm like, I'm going to work at the Dream Center. That's where I want to work, because I wanted to be around people
Yeah.
that love Jesus. And because after going up there and talking to Jackie, I was like, this before I knew a lot about Jesus. And
Right.
I was like, I want to be like her.
Yeah.
Like, my heart is pure, and I want to be able to help people the way she helps people. That's what I would look at. And it's in the end, it's like, I want to be more like Jesus.
Right.
So, I forget, I don't even know what I was saying on that, but, It went with something. Oh yeah. So my dream job was to work at the Dream Center. And when I got here, I was working, but I took a leave of absence to come into the program. So when I went back, I was like, the only way I'm leaving is if I'm a peer support specialist.
Right.
That would be the only way I switch jobs, like, because I love it. Like, I don't want to work nowhere else.
So, DeeDee, tell us, what is life like now, post-graduation, coming out of the Opportunity Village? Tell us a little bit like what life looks like for you.
Well, now I'm a peer support specialist, so my heart is to help other people in the same situation I was in. And my heart really goes out to helping people, like even when I'm in the store, you know, I'm there helping people as they watch me grow. I'm hoping they see me and I'm a shining light. How I came from the darkness into the light. Well, usually what I say, from the darkness shimmers to sparkles, but because that's what God, I mean, if you've seen the darkness and the evil side, you know there's a brighter light at the other end. Like, there's no question about it. Like, and it's so amazing, but a lot of people don't know there's another way. Like, I used to not know there was another way, and now that I know, I want everybody to know. So, and a lot I struggle with is I got to stand back and let God, because I can't do nothing but plant a seed and let God take the rest.
Yeah, for sure.
And sometimes I get wound up and I'm like, just get it. You know what I'm saying? Like, just get it.
100%.
But I know it's not that easy. You don't get it into the full darkness overnight. It takes time, just like it takes time to come out of it.
That's good.
Yeah, so good. That's awesome. And I'm glad you said sparkle. I wasn't sure that was going to make it in. You hadn't said it to this point, and I was like, oh, is she not going to say anything about sparkles in this episode? Just because that's something that we've gotten to hear you make such a big part of your testimony and your story, and it's one of my favorite things that you say. So I'm glad you fit it in there eventually.
Well, like I say, the reason I say that is because when you're in drug addiction, like, once you do drugs, it, like, you see, like, you don't just hear, you see it for yourself. Like, so when you're fighting back, you're like, I know once it starts, you're like, I know there's another side, and you'll fight just as hard to get to the bright light, which I call sparkles, because I want it to radiate off me to other people. Like, so
it's pretty awesome.
And I think you definitely do that.
Yes.
I know I was still on the OV team when you came into the village. And that was one of the things that I noticed immediately about you, is just how extremely optimistic you were, but also very vulnerable in this fact. Like, some days you were struggling, but it was that back and forth of, like, fighting through the fear. And that's one of the things that stood out to me the most about you, was the optimism, but also you embraced the vulnerability of expressing your fear, which was really powerful.
That's awesome.
With the fear, you know, I might fear everything I come to. Like I said, I used to never leave home, but being in transition, I faced that fear, and I say, I got God beside me. Ain't nobody gonna stop me.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because if you put me somewhere that's uncomfortable or something, you always have God there.
Yeah.
So when I come to a hard situation, I think in my head, I'm like, God's there.
Yeah.
Even I have to stop and think about it. I'm like, God's there. I can face this.
Yeah.
So I always face it.
So good.
That's so good. One of the things that we do for, like, promotional things for this podcast is Smike will cut and put little clips on Instagram. And literally, as you started talking, I was like, well, there's our little snippet for promoting your episode. So that's awesome. And I mean, you do it with such sincerity, and it's so genuine. So,
and one other thing in transition I'm learning is actually how to be the best mom I can. And I started that in the program, but I've actually, I have a relationship with my daughter too now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was at graduation, right?
Yes, she was.
She was precious.
So sweet.
So God's restoring. My grandma, I have a relationship with my grandma. And God is restoring, and I'm seeing other people around me. It's like my sister, who's in early recovery herself. So God's restoring. Like I said, it takes more than overnight to fix, but I'm very grateful for the restoration God's putting through all of it. And my favorite part is I actually get to be a mom, because when I started fighting him for Caden, I was like, Lord, if you give him back, I will live for your purpose and shine on for you, Jesus. And I won't stop.
Yeah.
Like, he did. Like,
He did.
That's what I strive for every day, is being the best mom I can.
Come on. That's awesome. So proud of you.
Thanks.
It's so beautiful to watch. We love it. I also realized a little bit ago that it's really cool that we got to end the last season with Jennifer McGaha.
Yeah.
And you're starting this season. Like, that is just such a cool, like, Alabaster and Alabaster start kind of back-to-back thing, which is just so cool.
And so Jennifer is over the Alabaster
Yes.
house. You can go back and watch her episode.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she's great.
She's
Like,
the best.
I mean,
Yeah.
she really puts, if anybody's looking for a rehab, that's the way to go.
Yep.
Like, she puts her heart and soul into us girls.
She does.
She really, really does. Like,
She does.
when God called her for her calling, she did it, you know, and she does it very well.
So well. It's awesome.
Also, another little plug. We talked about Jackie earlier. Her podcast is also from
Jackie
season
is also on the podcast.
4
Yeah.
or 5.
4 maybe. I think
About 4 or
4.
5. Yeah. So go back and watch Jackie's
Yeah,
too.
that's awesome. Sweet.
It's like how God says He'll bring you full circle,
Yes, he
Yeah.
does.
and God really brought me full circle. Like, it's amazing, you know. Can't.
Love it.
So
proud of you.
Thanks.
Seriously.
Well, thank you so much for coming and
Yes.
hanging out with us and sharing your story and talking about all the hardships you face, but also celebrating all the victories the Lord's put in front of you.
Yeah.
We love you so much, DeeDee.
I love y'all
so much. Well, looks like we wrapped up first episode of season 7.
Yep.
We're excited for the rest, and we'll see you guys next episode.